Welcome back to Wickerson Studios. My name is Michael Wickerson, and a lot has changed in the last, I think, week or just under 2 weeks. I've basically taken a re-interest in scripting and certainly back into my old computer self about 30 years ago. So what I've done is I've made a push to really move away from the Rhino script syntax into Rhino Common for making Grasshopper scripts, and of course that's brought me to the C# node, and I'm drawing exactly from, if I could pull it up here, down at the bottom here for a second. Where did I have it? I'm pretty sure I had it there. There it is. It's on my other page, so let me just drag it down here. It's basically Rajaa Issa's. I've done her Essential Mathematics, and now I've gone in and I've read through, and I'm following the C Scripting for Grasshopper Essential Guide pretty clearly, and building scripts. And you definitely want to have a little bit of experience with Python node, GH Python node before doing this. And my main goal is to kind of get more and more into the Rhino common, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just going to tuck that one over on the other page, and as I follow through those scripts, all files are provided. You can do the exact ones, and I've pretty much stayed very close to what Rajaa Issa was doing, but then I've tried to put them into some interesting Grasshopper scripts and make some geometries, pretty basic geometries, but you can see that this one, because I do a little Boolean union at the end, I'll just grab my bifocals so you can kind of jump in here and see what's going on. Sorry, a solid union at the end. It's going up to like 5 seconds. I could definitely deactivate that and then put this one on the preview and then do the Boolean. It's going to move pretty fast now as I go through and do some rotations. And I've got this snapping. You can see I'm grabbing some pretty interesting geometries to make this little cluster. And that's all I'm really doing as it rolls through. And you see the one that matches at the 2. I'll show you what I did to that sphere and how that comes about. But the script is very simple, and I've just popped it into a gene pool. So if I grab my object here and go to visibility and just hide that away, I can set my gene pool and just randomize it, and you've got another cluster that's popped up and another cluster. And this is based on a is-even and is-odd node. And what I'm going to do is just type in here, and I don't have the plugin or any plugins that do it, but if I type in even, you can see that I'm not really getting anything like is-even. So you're starting to think about, okay, what do I need to make as a node? And this C script would be the is-even-odd C script, and that's what I'll call it. Even, hang on, is even, is odd C script, and that's exactly what I call it, C# script. And there it is. And one thing I have to do is, if I'm going to take that and copy that, I'm probably going to want to go in here and just do a quick little group, and then I'll change that name to that exactly, and that should override it. There you go. So I got my is even or is odd script. I can play around with randomization subtly or not. You can see the top view and side view, and as we go, and basically it just generates a series of integers, and the script's going to come in here and prove whether it's false. And what I did was I just rewrote it with modulus to make it equal to 0 and equal to 1, and that's going to pump out whether it's false up here and then true down here, so that kind of flips it. And that's all I did, and I'll get into that script in a second, to use a rotation around in the motion of the x and z direction of just a move rotation, which just counted and did a little random, a range around on rotating the axes and ending up with these forms. So as you do that, you can kind of jump in here and see how you can script that fairly quickly and make this pretty interesting little objects from just those two. So that's the power of the script and playing around like that. And I'll just throw it into a little bake, make it go a little less, maybe like that, little cluster. And then if I bake that, I could just take it out like this, throw it into all, and then there we go. You've got the form. And now what you still have to do, as that's processing through the technical drawings, you'd still have to go in here and grab all those forms. It's not too exciting on this one. Grab all those forms and then do a Boolean union here if you didn't want to wait for it in the Grasshopper script. Now hopefully I can tuck all this data back into the C script as become more and more proficient. Let's take a look at the C script and see what we have going on. And it's a little intimidating, and they do cover in those first pages quite a bit in Rajaa Issa. She's going to go in and outline everything you see when you open up a script. So as we get through the table of contents and scroll down, it's going to say, okay, you've got all the basic stuff that you might recognize from the GH-Python node, the list access, and then also the type hints. But you're going to go farther in because you want to get into Rhino Common pretty specifically. You're going to go in there and see what the script actually means and all the things it gives you. There's a couple extra things on managing assemblies. I don't remember that from the GH-Python node. But then there's a breakdown of really everything that's happening in the code editor as you extend all of these things. So you start with the top little panel here at the top, and then a breakdown of everything that's within this number 2 section. And the number 2 section is all of the scripting components. Okay, you get the imports, you get the utility functions, the members, the run script functions, and that's what they do. They talk about breaking down, managing the assemblies. Okay, so that's what comes in as the imports, but they're saying using instead of import because you're in C#. Utility functions are here, so you can actually do things with, I believe, the strings and with the reflect object. Okay, and then the members. Then continue with a little more information. And I kept this so hidden when I opened C. It was just so intimidating. And really, I just wanted to get down to writing the script. And I'm playing around with opening and closing it, running it and playing it, and watching this data, which I can't change up when I'm in the script editor, but I can see it reflected in what I put my inputs and outputs for my node. So that should make a little sense to people that are actually playing with that in the Grasshopper node. And then basically jumping in, I'm going to go through list access, item access, list access, and tree access. And the first script she starts with is the one I took from, which was this one. She generated random, whereas I use a gene pool. She opened the script. She set things as a single list item, single item before the list item, and she wrote a simple script of num, did a modulus, which would say if it's true or false. And that's how it ended up running. And then she goes in, she writes another one, which I'll do after, and uses a series to play with a double and then increment things up on certain iterations, because that's really the power of scripting, is you want to get into your for and your while and your iterative qualities and what you can do. And then I'll get down to list items. So without jumping around too much, I should say why I'm taking an interest in this. I am going to show the script as to what I had. We'll just bounce this out of the way. And we'll grab this script if I can, pull it over. You'll see the script itself was simply that one. What's brought in is I actually put on an extra one, is even, is odd, and all I changed the script was that the mod 1, and unlike Python, I have to have different variables for different things. I can't just change them as I go through. So I have to have it set to 0 and set to 1, which will pull up true, false, and when you look at what's happening here, it's really just bouncing. Making these opposite, and as I plug them in, they're obviously rolling in different directions. I'm going to pull that one back up to here, and I'm not happy with my gene pool. I'm going to randomize it 100%. I'm going to run my script, and I'm going to close it, and there you go. You got a pretty nice form that's there, and I'm going to take out my object that's there and just put that in hiding as well. I've got a pretty decent one. That's a little tiny cluster worth playing around with and having a look at, and then I'll go in here and do a little bake on it. And I'll bake it all into one object, and then I'll have to do a Boolean union after. But right now there it is, and I can do a quick analysis tool, which I always do to just show off the pieces. So I'll do a little zebra for fun. Do that one, and there we go. There you got a pretty interesting little strange shape as it goes through, and you can see how that relates. And I don't really like red, so I'll bring it over to blue and take it pale. There we go. There we go. Nice little subtlety. And still striped, which is kind of ridiculous to look at. I think I'll change that. Surface environment mapping. There we go. We'll get rid of that other, and there's the map. So there you go. You've got your little clustered object that's formed. Now, why did I do this, and why am I learning C? Well, I was just getting frustrated, and as you know, I went into the GH-Python script right here, which was Rhino script syntax. I was learning off of channels that were starting to use the Rhino geometry instead of Rhino script syntax. But then I decided if looking at Jose Luis, his work on C and learning how he was programming really complex into the C# node, I thought it would be best to come in here and if I can grab my, just let me grab my, I thought I had it up here. I'll grab here, bring this down. I thought it would be interesting to take what I was doing as a group in the Rhino script syntax, which has over 2,400 members now, is I wanted to go in and I want to start a group on the C#. And that's exactly what I started doing with people. What I ended up really taking a look at was this headfirst C#. And in order to get there, because it's like a 1,000-page insane telephone book of trying to get into it, it's not scripting C# into Grasshopper. So I thought, well, just to get a handle of computers again, I better go eat up my Linux command line, which I did this last week. So that's getting me thinking a little more into scripting. And the nano script is the one to begin with. This one's going to bring me into where Jose Luis was working, and I'm a little frazzled because I'm starting this new series and I've just got so much information coming from every angle. And then I was just pointed as I was advertising the Rhino headfirst for C# that I should probably go in and take a look at Rajaa Issa's basic fundamentals of C#, and it really is helping. So I'll be doing a bunch of things at once as I kind of generate this together, and we'll see how it ends up going, and I can hopefully stay a little focused. It's only a 100-page document for Rajaa Issa. It's making sense. She's going to keep it simple. It's going to be the fundamentals, and I'm going to try and jazz the scripts up and make some interesting things as I go, and try and manipulate those, giving credit to where they're inspired. And by the time I'm done that, it should be fairly interesting, and I should be producing some pretty interesting surfaces, and I'll be tucking more and more of this into the C script, because obviously I want to be writing more complex scripts than this, but I'm making the shift from Python back over to C#. Pretty repetitive, but I've learned in learning anything, I've got to be somewhat redundant and repetitive in what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I don't learn it and I can't move forward with it. So I've got a good 3 weeks off school, maybe more, and I'll try and plug through this as best I can. I'll put these videos on the C# and start getting people to maybe think of shifting over. And hopefully I'll come out ahead as to where I am right now. So let's just take that and close that one. Nice little script. We'll save that doc, and then we'll go on to the next one, which will come up, and we'll build another one from a basic script, and then we'll try and plug that into simple geometries and make it interesting and do something. So once you become a little acrobatic with Grasshopper and you're getting kind of tired of, actually I meant to open this again, when you're getting tired of Rhino script syntax, you want to get in here and get into Rhino geometries and get into the system collections, and then bring in the Grasshopper kernels. This might make more sense as you go. I'm not going to break down what's happening here because it gets a little intimidating, but believe me, I've had some hard reads this week, and then obviously how you can just jump right into this line in Grasshopper and use your coding and scripting skills to produce what tend towards making your own plugins and your own geometries. So I hope that makes sense. I know I rambled on a bit. It's late. I'm tired, but I'm trying to end every night by reading a lot about C#. And it's always nice to bring it back to what you're interested in. Mine is geometry and forms and creating sculptures. So I'll just continue with this. Thanks very much for watching.